Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be looking at the RVer's best friend, or what I think should be the RVer's best friend, and that is the KBO Compact. And the reason I say that is because look how little space this thing takes up. Because not only is it a folding bike, but it's also compact, but still has big bike features like a 750 watt Bafang brushless motor, front suspension, and a 15.6 amp hour battery. The other reason I think it's the RVer's best friend is how quickly it assembles. So let's go over some fast facts of this bike real quick. Number one, for me it's always important, is the motor. This is a 750 watt brushless geared hub motor, and it is powered by a 15.6 amp hour removable battery. Now to remove this battery, it does take a key. This key also keeps it from powering on. So when you flip the seat and remove this battery with its convenient carry handle, you've now taken a compact bike and made it lighter, so it's easier to load in the back of your vehicle or your RV or whatever you're going to be taking it upstairs in your apartment. Because we live full-time in an RV, I don't have a scale and I can't tell you exactly how much this battery weighs, but if I had to guess, it'd be 10 to 15 pounds, which is significant if you're going to be picking it up and carrying something that's kind of awkward to hold. To put the battery back in, you just line it up with these grooves in here. It slides into place, and then you turn the key and it's locked. Now nobody can take it. With the battery in the bike, the total package is 68 pounds. Sticking with the seat post, it is a suspension seat post. Now while the rear end is rigid, you do get some suspension actually built into the seat post here. On the controls, we do have these big flat wide ergonomic hand grips that fit against the palms of your hand. You have twin disc brakes. These are mechanical 180 millimeter front and rear disc brakes. You do have a thumb throttle on the right hand side, and then you do have your push button selector for your 7-speed Shimano shifter for your gear set. On your left, you have your controls, which is a very simple control. You have your power on off, and then you have your three assistance levels, 1, 2, and 3. And then you hit your up button and hold it, and your cool little headlight comes on. In the front, you do have a front suspension fork, which I think is almost a necessity if you're looking at being comfortable on a bike, especially if you're living somewhere like this where it's rough and gravelly, which most camping places are. You want something that can handle these gravel roads and washboard. And the front suspension combined with these 4-inch wide, 20-inch tall fat tires is super helpful. The bike does have a ton of adjustment, which is kind of nice. You have in the front, you can adjust the handlebar height. You just take this quick release lever, no tools needed, and you can pull this thing up and make this monster machine like this. And in the back, same thing, it's just a quick release, flip the lever, and you can raise this seat post all the way up. And so you can get some pretty drastic seat height differences. They rate this bike for anyone from 5'2" up to like 6'4", 6'5", or something like that. So if you are 5'2", I'm 5'10" for reference with a 32-inch inseam. It is a step through frame, which is really nice. But you can see where that lines up with me. That's about a 32-inch inseam. So if you are 5'2", you are going to have to step up a little bit onto the bike. The bike does have a rear rack, which we took our basket off. We have a PetSmart or shopping basket, which we have found to fit perfectly on this rear rack. We like the rear rack because it is built in. There's no bolts here, there's nothing you have to put together, and that also means every one of these bikes is going to come with a rear rack because it's built in. The bike total does have a 350 pound capacity, which is pretty high for something that only weighs 68 pounds and is folding. This thing does have an integrated headlight. What it does not have is an integrated taillight. It does have a taillight, but it is powered by its own separate battery. There's no wiring here going to the main battery. You can see that as a pro or a con. It'd be much easier to replace if something happened to this one. You know, you can go on Amazon and just buy another one of these lights. A con is you can just forget to leave this light on. It is not an integrated brake light. So this is basically just a little light that you click on back here, a little LED light, and then when you're done, you click it off. Putting this bike together was one of the easiest bikes that we've put together yet, because these folding bikes come folded in half in a box. You basically just unfold them. The handlebars, everything's already installed, and you just put the pedals on and it's pretty much done. The assembly on these is super easy. So if you're not very technically savvy, these are super easy to put together. But I will give some tips on the assembly that we did find. One was this up in the front. The mechanism that releases this you can see it has a little bit of a tension that holds it in there. Well, inside of here, there's a bolt that has a little Allen key, but I tighten this down a little bit. So when you go to lock the steering, you get a little bit more of a satisfying click and a little bit more resistance, so it stays locked. Second, this has a safety so that you don't hit a bump and then this thing doesn't just flip down while you're riding, which would be bad. It slid a little bit too easy for my liking when I first got it, so I just snugged this down to where it grips the steering stem just a little bit better. The other thing I adjusted was just purely for comfort and super easy. It's just this quick release. So on this bike, it has these ergonomic hand grips. You can adjust by just flipping this, and you can adjust where you would like your assembly to be. All right, let's get helmeted up and head back into this beautiful scenery back behind us and put it for a little test. We unfortunately don't have any pavement to test it on here, but I think that'll be even better to test this bike out with its front suspension and on some of this loose terrain. It's not meant to be a mountain bike, but that's where we're going to test it today. All right, so before you get started on this bike, you just have to switch the key on, and when the key is on, it's actually locked into place. And the bike will not run without this key. A lot of e-bikes don't require the key, but this one does. So the key has to be turned on, and then it's locked in there just like a car. And then you come up here and hit the power button. It starts off on assist 0, which the throttle will not work on assist 0. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put it up on high or assist 3. And we're gonna start heading up the mountain here, and we're gonna head, that's Mount Whitney in the background. That's the highest mountain in the lowest 48. States here in America, and we're just going to ride up this slight grade and see how this bike does. So there's no pedaling here, and it has no problem powering me up this hill and this loose gravel sandy surface. The one thing that this bike does have, and I will say it's its biggest detractor, is that it has a big delay from the time that you mash the throttle till you get power. So it's almost like 2 seconds of delay. And then when it does give power, it gives it very slowly. Now KBO says that this is for safety reasons. I don't know if it's because it's aimed at the RV community, and the RV community is a little bit older and maybe they're wanting a little softer hit on the power. I'm not sure what the reasoning is. The other KBO bike that we had didn't have such a delay in the throttle. That delay also exists in the pedals. So we'll start here and do 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 4 revolutions of the pedal before you get any power. It's not my personal preference. I don't enjoy that about the bike, but KBO says they've done it for safety, so I'll just let it be that. But that would be my biggest attractor of this bike, is the delay that you get from power of the motor, whether you use the throttle or from pedaling. All right, some pretty good bumps here. Now, an issue like that is where that delay can become annoying. Let's say you get off the throttle to go slow to cross an obstacle, and then you get back on the throttle again. There's going to be a delay in that power, and on a bicycle, when you're not moving, you don't have any balance. So there'll be a gap in time of that power, will kind of make it a little bit more tricky. Now, once you ride the bike for a while, you get used to that, and you just start getting on the thumb throttle a little bit sooner than you would have with a normal bike, because you know there's a delay. And this bike claims a 20-mile-an-hour top speed. So I'm gonna do throttle only. We're in level 3, and let's see if we can get 20 miles an hour. So we're currently at 8 miles an hour. There's the throttle. There's 18 and 20. And you can feel at 20 that it just cuts out. The controller just cuts out. So the motor could do more, but the controller is artificially limiting it here at 20 miles an hour. We're going 15 miles an hour here. It locked up the front and the rear right there. So no problems on the brakes. We're at a slight downhill here. I weigh about 180 pounds. Now the front suspension does not have a ton of travel, but I think that's a pro in this situation. The more travel you put in that front suspension, the taller you need to make that front fork. And the taller that front fork is, the less compact and the less easy it is to load in and out of a RV or a car and then you start kind of losing the point of having a compact folding bike. The other thing I like about this bike is it's pretty. As with the other KBO bike we had, their paint especially is very pretty and looks very high end for how budget this bike is. Rear suspension seat post actually works pretty good. The seat itself is very plush, and that little suspension seat post on this rough road here, it does make a difference. See if it can climb this, no pedals, and it did it. That big delay though, you definitely have to plan ahead for that. So right here on pedal assist 1, I can feel it cutting out at 12 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and bump it up to 2. So that's about 16 miles an hour. And then pedal assist 3 is going to take you all the way to 20. So this is a pretty steep hill right here. Let's just see how we do going down this. Now this is not a mountain bike, but I just want to show you if this bike will fall apart going down here or not. And it doesn't. Little sandy wash. Now this hill's really steep. I doubt it'll climb this with no help from my pedaling. It's holding at 5. Okay, actually that's very impressive. I'm not pedaling at all here. It's maintaining 4 miles an hour. I did not think it would climb that hill. So this hill's super steep. We'll see if it can do this. I for sure don't think it can do this with almost no run up. No, this is way too steep. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a little help. But this is super steep. Now that's very impressive. What I want to show you is what this bike can do. So it can do all this steep riding and kind of off-road stuff. It'll definitely get you around at the campground, or get you around downtown if you fold this up and keep it in an apartment. So right now, to be honest with you, I'm just enjoying this ride. It is absolutely beautiful here. The weather is beautiful, and we are camping. And since we live in our RV, having an e-bike like this that you can unfold out of the back seat of your truck and go explore around while your RV is stationary, I think is the strongest selling point of this bike. It doesn't take up much room. It only weighs 68 pounds. And it can get you somewhere like this while you park your RV back there, and it's not in the way. So if you think next time you go camping in your RV or your car and you'd want to leave all your stuff back at your campsite and then just go enjoy the scenery without having to break your whole camp down, and you're interested in this bike, go check it out. If a folding bike doesn't seem like the bike for you, that's fine too. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next video.